So, hello everyone. Today we are going to see the summary of Mr. Dalloway, which was written by the most famous writer, Virginia Woolf. Before getting into the summary of the novel, we shall know some important things or the details about it. The writer is Virginia Woolf, we know this already, and the setting is on the day of Wednesday in the mid-June in the year 1923 in the place London. For your information, this story is set in one single day, and this one was written in 1924 and it was published in the year 1925. It was published by Hogarth Press, whose owners were Virginia Woolf herself as well as her husband. So the genre of this novel, it is a psychological novel based on the principles of modernism. I mean, it has the experimentation techniques, the fragmentation is filled in the novel. Fragmentation is filled in the novel. You can see it yourself. So moving on to the background of this novel, Mrs. Dalloway, you have to know certain things. The first one is the aftermath of World War One. So you should know the impact of World War One on the world as well as the people. How people were living their life under depression, under conflicts, economical depression, psychological issues, loss of life, and all those. The second one is the stream of consciousness. The stream of consciousness is a technique used by the writers of modern era or postmodern era to express the feelings, the emotions, and the chaotic thoughts, the confusing thoughts of the character's mind. What is the third one? It is PTSD. PTSD refers to post traumatic stress disorder. So it is a psychological issue. And the next one we have here is Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. It's not just a novel, but it has a lot of things inside. It is an indirect attack on English society. So, for example, England is very powerful. It is very dominant over all other countries around the world. But, but during the World War One, though it was powerful, it did not realize the loss of the lives of its own civilians, its own citizens. England's own citizens have lost their lives. They are living under depression. After the World War One, the whole country suffers from some psychological issues. What is the next one we have? It is against Victorian ideas. So the Victorian perception of the upper class society is just very noble, very royal, and very high class life. When it comes to Virginia Woolf's depiction of Victorian realism, she has brought out the reality of the life of the upper class people. That in no way the upper class people are living their life in a peaceful way. They are facing their own conflicts. They have existential crisis. They have their own inner thoughts that confuse them, that question their identity. That is just. And the next one we have here is lost generation. So the people who were born or who lived around 1883 to 1900, these people come under the lost generation. So one of the characters from this novel belongs to this particular. We shall see in the upcoming summary. The final one is people usually tell. It is told that it is a semi-autobiographical work of Virginia Woolf, as Virginia Woolf herself was suffering through depression, loneliness, okay, in her real life. That actually made her kill herself. She committed suicide and she lost her life. So with that thing, through the inspiration of her own depression, she had created the character Mr. Dalloway. It is told. So now, let us see an exact definition of stream of consciousness for your reference. A stream of consciousness, it is a narrative technique. It captures the continuous, often chaotic and confusing flow of thoughts, feelings, and the sensory experiences in a character's mind. This term was first introduced in psychology and it was coined by philosopher William James and it was later adopted by literary critics. So this is the definition of stream of consciousness. Now, coming to the characters, we have Clarissa Dalloway, who is the protagonist of the novel. She's the heroine of the novel. She is a 50 years old woman, and she is living in loneliness, and she has that longingness for love from her husband. She loves to be socially engaged, but certain things about her own self do not let her be so social with people. And the next character we have is Richard Dalloway, who is her husband, and who is an MP, he's a minister in a conservative party. And he's quite rich, but not so romantic. He's a workaholic. He's always seen busy with his own work. He doesn't pay attention to Clarissa Dalloway. Next, we have Elizabeth Dalloway, their 17 years old daughter. Miss Kilman is Elizabeth's history tutor. She's from Germany. This woman probably looks ugly, as Clarissa Dalloway never likes ugly things. She loves it when things look very beautiful, when places are very. She tries to search for beauty in everything she sees. When it is not satisfying to her eyes, she starts hating it. In the same way, this ugly Miss Kilman is hated extremely by Clarissa Dalloway. Okay? So that is their story. So Septimus Warren Smith is another important character of this novel. So he is a soldier. He fought in the World War One, and this person suffers from a psychological issue termed as shell shock. Coming to the character Lucrezia Smith, she is Baron Smith's Italian wife. She's very supportive and very loving. She patiently takes care of Septimus Baron Smith despite his psychological issues and unreliable conditions in most of situations. So Evans is Septimus' friend, and he was also an officer in World War One. He passes away. His death has left Septimus Warren Smith suffer from a psychological issue all his life. We have Dr. Holmes and Sir William Bradshaw, who are the doctors who try to treat Septimus and heal him. And coming to William Bradshaw, he is a famous psychiatrist from London. And the next character we have is Peter Walsh. He is a former lover of Clarissa Dalloway. During their youth, they both loved each other. And when Peter Walsh tried to propose her for marriage, Clarissa Dalloway clearly refused because Peter Walsh wanted to be a poet, writer. And Clarissa Dalloway did not find a future with a good income, good economic safety, with the occupation of being a poet. So she let down his proposal. And the next one is Daisy Simmons. Daisy Simmons is Peter's lover in India. Daisy and Peter are married. Together they have two children. We have Hugh Whitebread and Lady Bruton, who are Clarissa Dalloway and Richard Dalloway's great good friends. And Sally Seaton is a very, very, very close friend of Clarissa Dalloway and Peter Walsh in their youth. So Sally Seaton and Clarissa Dalloway have an homosexual encounter in their youth. After Sally Seaton gets married to a richest man in the town, in the city, both the friends divide themselves. So we have the novel beginning with Clarissa Dalloway's idea or the plan of conducting an evening party, of throwing a party that evening. For that, she has plans to go and buy flowers for it. And she randomly gets the thoughts of her own past, how she was so beautiful, how she was being loved by so many men, and how her old lover, Peter Walsh, proposed her for marriage, and how she has wasted all her beauty and youth in loneliness and longingness for love. So she randomly has been thinking of all these things. Meanwhile, she sees an airplane from India that signifies Peter Walsh's return from India after long years for the party that Clarissa Dalloway is about to throw that in. Fragmentation number one is going to happen in the snow. So Septimus is whom the story now shifts to. So he had just lost his friend Evans in World War One and is left traumatized with a psychological issue called shell shock. So his wife is Lucrezia Smith. She's very supportive, she's very loving, she takes care of him very well, and she badly wants her husband, Warren Smith, to heal from that. Now these both husband and wife are sitting in the Regent's Park. Now the story shifts back to Clarissa Dalloway. She comes home from the shop to find Peter Walsh waiting for her to talk to her in her own home. She is unable to talk to him as her daughter, Elizabeth Dalloway, comes there. Peter he wanted to ask Clarissa Dalloway about the life she has been living all these years. If she was very happy living the life she has got, or how she felt staying away from him. But Elizabeth Dalloway's presence did not make them have a good conversation. So Peter also leaves to Regent's Park. He sits there and thinks why Clarissa Dalloway rejected his marriage proposal. I told you the reason in the beginning, but he doesn't know that. Now the story next shifts to Miss Killman, who is a German history tutor. As I told you, Mrs. Dalloway hates her quite much. And one more thing she does is she tries to convert Elizabeth Dalloway to Christianity, probably a nun. Then again, we have the story shifting back to Septimus. Septimus loses his mind. He goes crazy, and his wife Lucrezia takes him to Dr. Holmes, a very famous doctor. So Dr. Holmes suggests that he will get well soon. Don't worry. Okay, he'll get well soon by time, he says. Lucrezia waits and waits and waits. She finds no improvement. So she decides to take him to Dr. Bradshaw. So there, that doctor suggests to admit Septimus in a mental institution. So there we shall pause. The story now shifts to Richard Dalloway, the husband of Mrs. Dalloway. He's a politician, and there he is having lunch with his good friends in their home, in the friend's home. Mr. Hugh and Mrs. Lady Bruton are close, good friends of Richard Dalloway. So they are gathered there on a purpose because they have a letter to be printed in the Times Now newspaper the next day. So they gathered to plan, to write, and to print. So Richard gets this random feeling that he has never expressed his love to his wife. And then he decides quickly to buy some flowers and prepares himself to express his love, to confess his love to Clarissa Dalloway. Unfortunately, he couldn't tell anything to his wife. He kept quiet, and that's very unfortunate. Now again, we are running back to Septimus. So it is an appointment day that Lucrezia was waiting for. They probably might have forgotten that it is an appointment day because they were helping each other. Both the husband and wife, Septimus and Lucrezia, were helping each other, making hearts because it is Lucrezia's occupation. That's what she does. It was a loving moment. Both were very happy, drowned in love with each other. after a very long time, smiling at each other, having fun. So both the doctors randomly enter to take Septimus to mental institute. In a great shock, Septimus started hallucinating. His hallucination made him to look at Dr. Holmes as if he sees a monster. Dr. Holmes becomes a monster. He looks like a monster to Septimus eyes, the monster that has come to take away his life. In order to save himself from that monster, he jumps out of the window and he dies. So that's where Septimus' life ends. Now the story finally shifts to Mrs. Dalloway's party. All the upper class people are there very happily partying in Mrs. Dalloway's home. Even the Prime Minister is there for the party so that we should know how rich is Mrs. Dalloway. Clarissa is the host and she doesn't want any mishappenings in the party. She wants it to run smooth, go well and good. People should live happily from her good. Her friend Sally Satan and Mr. Peter Walsh are there. Okay, they are waiting to talk to Mrs. Dalloway. As I told you, Sally Satan and Clarissa Dalloway's relationship was something different, something like the homosexual life they had. So there, Dr. Bradshaw is very late for the party, and when he is asked why were you late to the party, he answers that Septimus, my patient, has passed away. He killed himself. When we tried to, when we tried to take him to the hospital, he explains it. After that, Clarissa Dalloway is taken aback by the thought of life and death of a human life. She detaches herself from the company of her friends and the people who have come for the party. She's drowned out. She sits alone and thinks about the reality of life and death. And then her thoughts come to end with this feeling that she chose the wrong person to marry. An emotional detachment, not happy in marriage. Okay, she married a person who is emotionally unavailable. So Peter Walsh and Charlie Seaton are ready for Clarissa. Okay, Clarissa will come and join us. We shall party. They were waiting. And soon she does. Everybody in the party is happy except Clarissa. She is preoccupied with existential crisis, loneliness, longing for love. She loves to be very social, but here she is unable to communicate with people. Despite number of people are around her, she is unable to be socially engaged. And that's how the novel ends. Moving on to the theme. The central themes of Mrs. Dalloway: time, identity, mental health, and the tension between the public and private life. More than this, we have the class, the social class. So, coming to the time and passage of time, the novel unfolds in a single day. It is in a single day. It says how time is a very crucial part of a human life. The life that we live in the morning will not be the same life that we attain at the end of the day. And the next thing is past and present. They coexist. They coexist. Just because we are living in the present doesn't mean that we don't have past with that anymore. It all coexists. And that's what makes life. So characters reflect on their youth and they regret their choices and everything. So this shows the importance of time in the novel. Communication versus isolation. Every character in this novel has an interior monologue, has something that they want to communicate to the people, but they hesitate, or either they don't. Because They are isolated. They are alone. So we have the social class and gender. She talks about the social class and gender through the character Clarissa Dalloway very clear. The life that Clarissa Dalloway lives after her marriage with Richard Dalloway is a clear depiction of the fact that women of all the social classes struggle despite her independence. And out of the loneliness, she starts thinking about her own old love, Peter Walsh, and she starts thinking about the feelings she had in the past for Sally Seaton. And and the next one we have is death and existential reflection. So it is a very important and recurring motive. Through the death of Septimus, through his suicide, and Clarissa Dalloway's musing on the life and death of a woman. Death plays a very crucial role in this stream of consciousness. Virginia Woolf has employed death in her novel, not just an end, just as an end, but it is a spectacle through which the readers as well as the characters learn the meaning of life, learn what life actually is. So that is how this motive becomes. Talking about mental health and trauma, we have Septimus Warren Smith's shell shock, post traumatic stress disorder, and Clarissa Dalloway's loneliness, that loneliness for love, zoning out every now and then. Through all these mental illnesses, she highlights how through all these things people become disabled in a social life, and how the readers and the public and the people oversee the psychological sufferings. And the next one we have is identity and self-perception. So Clarissa Dalloway often is seen questioning her identity. She sees dwelling in her past lover, her past relationship with Sally Seaton, her identity. She wishes to be social in her life but is unable to. So through all this, the self perception and identity plays a very important role.